Welcome to Blueprint, a Bharatiya Media podcast where we explore business strategy, financial planning, and performance improvement. Today, we are joined by CA Chaitanya Shah, a chartered accountant, a cost and work accountant from ICWAI, and a PhD holder in SME Financial Governance and Credibility as a tool for national economic development. He will share his unique insights on how strong financial governance with business can drive growth and success. So, welcome, sir. Welcome to the first episode of the Blueprint. Uh,
Yes, thank
how
you.
do you view how do you view the current state of SME in India, and what are the key challenges they face in today's economic environment?
Yes, it's a $1 million question.
Yes, sir.
I will take you a little back into the history.
Yes, sir.
Post-independence,
Yes, sir.
we had no organized way of dealing with the small industries.
Hmm. Hmm.
There was an act called SSI, Small Scale Industries Act, which
Hmm.
was in vague and which was being used.
Hmm.
But almost 50 years after the independence,
Hmm.
or 60 years after the independence,
Hmm.
uh, the first act, MSME Act was put into the place in 2006.
Hmm.
And thereafter, the MSMEs were recognized.
Hmm.
Post-independence, this has been the major issue.
Hmm.
And in 2014,
Hmm.
the definition of the MSME, because even in the earlier act, the definition of MSME was quite questionable.
Hmm.
And it was restricting itself to a very, very small type of thing. Even 2006 Act also had the same issue.
Hmm.
Recently, the definition has been revised.
Hmm.
And now, when we talk of SMEs,
Hmm.
it means businesses broadly with turnover upward of 5 crores
Hmm.
and going up to 250 crores.
Right,
Now,
right.
this change has had a tremendous impact.
Hmm.
And in last 10 years,
Hmm.
now we call
Hmm.
MSMEs and the SMEs as the economic growth engine.
Hmm.
And it's, progressing in a big way in the economy and the country. The whole world is impressed with the developments. Today, we have around 6.4 crore MSME units in the country. But the unfortunate part is that the SMEs constitute hardly 1% of the total 6.4 crores,
Hmm.
which is speaking volumes about the issues which these people are facing, the units and the business owners.
Hmm.
And there are historical reasons behind this. Now, what has happened since 2014 again, two major things have happened.
Hmm.
One was even prior to that.
Hmm.
The Indian economy has been opened for the purpose of business.
Hmm.
Now we are a global economy. It's no longer a license raj or
Hmm.
a closed door economy,
Hmm.
which has a tremendous impact as
Hmm.
far as the SMEs are concerned.
Hmm.
And this is where they have to cope up. And
Hmm.
the second thing is regarding what has happened post 2014 again,
Hmm.
is that with the demonetization,
Hmm.
with the introduction of GST
Okay.
and other related provisions,
Hmm.
there is tremendous amount. Now the digitization has grown. The income tax and GST returns are basically online. There is no personal intervention of anybody. It's
Hmm.
all automatic. Government has got tremendous database.
Hmm.
As a result, in the entire system,
Hmm.
there is a lot of importance on the governance and transparency.
Hmm.
Now, these are the biggest challenges, what you mentioned. These are the two biggest challenges. One is the globalization of the Indian economy,
Hmm.
and second is bringing in transparency into the system,
Hmm.
governance issues.
Hmm.
Every unit has to be run professionally and in a proper manner.
Hmm.
And that is why the SMEs are facing a huge challenge.
Hmm.
They need to change their mindset.
Hmm.
Their entire mindset need to change, and it has to move towards two things, that it has to bring in the transparency as well as the tremendous discipline in
Hmm.
terms of running a business.
Hmm. So how a startup or SME can do this mindset change you talked about, like how they can adopt those kind of changes in mindset.
Yes. See, at the outset,
Hmm.
let me distinguish between a SME
Hmm.
and a startup.
Okay.
There are huge difference. There are huge differential points. I'll touch upon few of them
Hmm.
between a SME and a startup.
Hmm.
First is the business model.
Hmm.
MSME and SME,
Hmm.
they are into a business which is of a traditional nature,
Hmm.
which the society has been seeing it for years and ages and all that, and that's what they will keep on doing.
Hmm.
Whereas a startup comes out with a breakthrough idea,
Hmm.
something which is totally new
Hmm.
into the economy or into the system.
Hmm.
I'll give you one or two examples.
Hmm.
One is, you look at Zomato.
Hmm.
If you see Zomato, Zomato has changed the entire system in which the delivery takes place.
Hmm.
We don't have to go physically or personally to fetch the item.
Hmm.
Particularly on your eatables, hotel deliveries, even groceries and all that, you get delivered home.
Hmm.
Secondly, I'm just giving you one or two examples. Second is, you see Uber. Earlier, there was a different kind of taxi services which were available, and people used to make use of it. Now, Uber has changed the entire scenario.
Hmm.
So, the first is the business model.
Hmm.
The business model is different. Second thing, which is very important, is that SMEs and MSMEs, they grow at a regular pace,
Hmm.
5%, 10%, 15% kind of a thing yearly, and that's the journey in the business, and which is a stable business. They are happy with that.
Hmm.
Whereas in a startup, the
Hmm.
business grows at a rapid pace
Hmm.
because it's a global market.
Hmm.
The entire country is a market.
Hmm.
And as a result, the business grows by leaps and bounds. There
Hmm.
are 100 crores, 500 crores, 1,000 crore businesses.
Hmm.
You can take, for example, Oyo,
Hmm.
the way it was performing.
Hmm.
Then there was a little lean period because of the COVID and all.
Hmm.
Now again, they have changed their business model and doing. So the
Hmm.
scalability and the numbers are extraordinarily very high.
Hmm.
Third thing is funding.
Hmm.
Funding in case of SME is
Hmm.
primarily through the normal route, which
Hmm.
is banking. They go for the bank loans and all that.
Hmm.
Whereas in case of a startup,
Hmm.
it is taking place
Hmm.
from public. It's an equity finance.
Hmm.
Either they go to a venture capitalist or they go to the SME market, and or there are private funders who will find those or fund those businesses.
Hmm.
And one very important part is the gestation. In SME business, gestation is very low. In 6 months or a year, the business starts generating the money.
Hmm.
Whereas in case of startup, it takes very long time, sometimes years
Hmm.
before you see the light of the day.
Most of
Now,
the startups which you are means the category of startups you are talking about, most of the startups those who are performing in India are not profitable yet. Okay, and there are one another side of you can divide the startup community, whole startup community, in three parts. Like one big giant kind of startup like Ola, Zomato, Flipkart, and all. And there are some middle range of startup as well, and there are those who are very new and very fresh startup. They are working on their own ideas. Okay, so how a small startup, a small person who wanted to start his own, okay, how he can come into the business, and how he can judge the idea whether this idea will be able to scale up or not. Because see, we are seeing a startup, those who are already raised so many funding and all, and they have set up one bench of benchmark for their product and services, and those who wanted to start, so how they can follow this kind of path? What they should do?
Yeah. See, listen. One thing is that
Hmm.
startup, by definition,
Yes.
is a high risk business
Yes.
because you are not going into the traditional business.
Right.
You are coming out with a brilliant some idea, which
Hmm.
is the creation of an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
It may or may not work,
Right.
and the success rate
Hmm.
in case of startups is very very low.
Hmm.
Even in case of MSMEs,
Hmm.
you will be surprised 30% of the units fail.
Hmm.
Whereas in startups, it is more than 90% of the units which fail.
Hmm. So how means that, this is my question. How they can identify where to stop
Yes.
working on my idea? Means when,
Yes.
so that
Okay.
the time is spent in the startup which is about to fail, they should reduce it. How can they?
Right. Perfect. 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 See, what the startup entrepreneur has to do is
Hmm.
entrepreneurs are generally wedded to their idea.
Hmm.
Means they're after, they madly, run after those ideas.
Hmm.
But when
Hmm.
you are talking of converting a startup as a successful unit,
Hmm.
at least they need to take care of three, four items.
Hmm.
One is the predictability of the revenues.
Hmm.
What kind of a revenues they are going to be in a position to generate
Hmm.
first year or 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, like that.
Hmm.
Second thing is whether this revenue upward stream is sustainable or not.
Hmm.
Whether they will be able to sustain this kind of a business revenues.
Hmm.
Third is
Hmm.
associated to this,
Hmm.
just having large revenue
Hmm.
may not help. You also need to look at whether it is profitable or not.
Very, very, very true. Because most of the startups, those are the role model for our country, are basically running for the revenue only, not for the profit, and not for the bania kind of business what we were doing previously. I think those kind of thing was good because they were good into accounting, like whatever the things are going from the dukan, they are writing it down in the copy pen and all, so all those things are there. Like right now what startups are doing, they are just crazy about revenues, not looking at profit. So how a financial management practice can revolutionize this industry, like for startup and SME space, how they can do their financial planning and make a difference in their success and failure.
True. In fact, that is the main reason
Hmm.
why they must look at their profitability and cost control.
Correct.
Because bottom line,
Hmm.
see, if you look, as you have been repeatedly saying, that they look at the revenue, how much money they are getting, a business and all that.
Hmm.
Top line alone doesn't matter
Hmm.
beyond a point.
Hmm.
You have to also focus on the bottom line, whether you are making the
Correct.
profit or not.
Correct. Very true.
In fact, based on what you are saying,
Hmm.
if they keep on looking only at the generating top line, and if it is making losses,
Hmm.
if you increase your business from 100 crores to 200 crores, your losses will be 3 times, 4 times more.
Correct. Correct. Very
So
true.
that is where they must have good financial management,
Hmm.
and that is the basis on which they will be able to grow
You can
and
see,
run a
you can
unit.
see, you can see those bad practices on the IPO of the startups came into picture, because when they go for the IPO, the real picture of their business get into scan, and they have not generated much of whatever they were expecting from the market. So this we can see actually, right?
Yes, 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 absolutely. But moreover,
Hmm.
Since I have been in this field, for more than 30 years
Hmm.
as a SME financial and management advisor,
Hmm.
I have been noticing, and some of the very senior people, whether connected with the financial field, including the SME stock exchanges, they say one thing very clearly,
Hmm.
that the financial literacy,
Hmm.
financial management understanding
Hmm.
of the business owners, be it SME or be it startup owner, their
Hmm.
financial understanding, financial literacy is very, very poor.
Hmm.
And along with this, they
Hmm.
must have in the change environment
Hmm.
lot of amount of literacy coupled with
Hmm.
good governance.
Hmm.
They honestly should look after all the stakeholders.
Hmm.
If you look only at the business, it
Hmm.
will not help you.
Correct.
You have to take care of all the stakeholders who are involved, be
Hmm.
it your
Sir,
financiers.
I wanted to stop here. Like, like a small startup. Okay, he wanted to, implement this business financials, management tactics from the day one. So, what steps a small entrepreneur or a startup who wanted to start his own, he should take care?
The starting point for any business,
Hmm.
most of the businesses, they start small.
Right.
Any business which is starting, they
Hmm.
must have their financial projections in place.
Correct.
That if they are starting the business, say for
First
example, I'm starting one
projection.
particular
First
business.
point, they have to make their financial projections. Second,
Projections, that's the most important.
oh yeah, right.
And having made that financial projections,
Hmm.
they should closely monitor
Okay. Second
with
is
the actuals,
second is monitoring.
monitoring with the actuals whether those things are taking place or not.
Correct. Correct.
If it's not happening,
Hmm.
then you have to do the analysis. You go to
Correct.
the your drawing board again
Hmm.
and look at
Hmm.
what are the assumptions on which you have made the projections,
Correct.
and whether those assumptions are coming true or not.
Hmm.
Because if you are not making profit as per the assumptions,
Hmm.
as per your projections,
Hmm.
then something is wrong in your what you have thought about.
Right. Right.
Say, for example,
Hmm.
I am starting a particular eatery, a restaurant,
Hmm.
and I project that every day I will have 100 footfalls
Hmm.
minimum,
Correct.
and each one will be they will take food consumption of minimum about rupees 100.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I am looking at 10,000 rupees generation
Hmm.
of revenue every day.
Hmm.
Now I need to monitor these, what is happening actually.
Hmm. Correct.
Because based on that, if I have taken my premises, if I have taken employed people, if I'm buying my groceries and if I'm buying every other item, and if 100 people are not coming, only 50 people are coming,
Hmm.
then what will happen to the business?
Right. Very true. Very
तो
true.
वो तो समझना पड़ेगा.
Correct. समझना पड़ेगा.
And another aspect is
Hmm.
that they really need to look at de-risking.
Okay.
They
Okay.
should not depend on one product unless they are very sure about it.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Try to spread your risk.
Hmm. So, sir, the government has introduced many programs like Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat. How effective have these initiatives been for SME, say it for startup growth, and what more should be done from the policy perspective, from the government initiative part?
Yes, yes. Good. See, what is happening, if you see both these schemes,
Hmm.
you mentioned two schemes, right?
Yes, Make in India,
You mentioned
Atmanirbhar
about,
Bharat.
uh,
Correct.
and the other one is
Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Atmanirbhar.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, what is the meaning behind this? What is Make in India? You want to make India a manufacturing hub.
Correct.
We are keen on making India a manufacturing hub.
Hmm.
If
True.
that is your intention,
Hmm.
then what are you required to have? what you should be having,
Hmm.
what you should be having. You have to create an infrastructure
Correct. Very true.
wherein the Indian SMEs and MSMEs, they
Hmm.
are having sufficient
Potential.
requirements, whatever they need, the entire infrastructure requirement which is there. If you see the Chinese government, what China had done, they
Hmm.
have created industrial hubs.
Correct. Very true.
For example, there
Hmm.
is one particular province
Hmm.
where they are manufacturing only toys.
Hmm.
And in that hub, the toys which they are making,
Hmm.
they supply 60% of the world toys requirement.
Hmm. But government is talking about this, cluster related manufacturing thing. We should
Same thing.
prepare a cluster, one product for one district. So all these schemes are there, but why this all schemes are not able to, get the result as expected from the,
No, listen,
those
listen, listen,
results?
listen.
Yes,
I understand and appreciate your concern as
yes,
a person, who is not getting into the 360-degree view of the problem.
correct.
See, there are states.
Hmm.
If you go to a state like Gujarat,
Correct.
if you go to a state like UP now,
Hmm.
you go to a state like Madhya Pradesh,
Hmm.
there, the governments are providing sufficient support and inputs
Hmm. Correct.
for
True.
the industries to come up.
Hmm.
If I remember correctly,
Hmm.
there is one scheme of the government
Hmm.
wherein one district, one product they are talking about.
Correct, correct. Yes. One
Now,
district.
one district, one product, I
Uh,
understand that in one of the areas in UP, they
uh,
have just picked up
uh,
a particular variety of rice,
correct.
which they have been growing, and the business has gone up multifold after they have gone into this scheme.
Hmm.
One district, one product.
Hmm.
See, we have to remember one thing, that
Hmm.
government is here to make certain policies and create and help you create an infrastructure.
Correct, correct.
काम कौन करेगा? Who
Hmm.
will do the job?
Correct. We
It
as
is the
a
entrepreneur.
yes, yes.
It is the entrepreneur who has to work, who has to apply his mind and think, how it is to be realized, how it has to be brought onto the grassroots level.
Correct, correct, correct.
And it's happening in a big way.
Hmm. Yes, yes. It's happening, but
Now,
the as expected growth from the SME and startup area, it is not coming up likewise.
my dear,
Hmm.
I think, I think,
Hmm.
I think I'm repeating three times.
Hmm.
People need to do their homework properly.
Hmm. Correct.
If you see the way Indian MSMEs have grown,
Hmm.
that's one of the reason why I gave you little historical background.
Hmm.
Post independence,
Hmm.
from 1947 to 2006, nobody was looking at the small businesses.
Correct.
They were just SSI units or kuch nahi chalta tha. And there were other issues also,
Hmm.
which I'm not spelling it out. You need
Hmm.
to have that experience and exposure, what was happening in those days with the small businesses, what they were doing.
Hmm.
Post this,
Hmm.
formal MSME sector was created.
Hmm.
And post 2014, you
Hmm.
look at the speed with which it has been growing.
Hmm.
Today, the key numbers,
Hmm.
you can just study those numbers,
Hmm.
the contribution to the GDP
Hmm.
of MSME, how
Hmm.
it has grown,
Hmm.
their contribution to exports,
Hmm.
how it has grown,
Hmm.
their contribution in terms of generating employment.
Hmm.
It is enormous.
Hmm.
It is enormous, unbelievable kind of success stories are there. And people see, unfortunately, what is happening, people are focusing on one or two failures.
Hmm.
That is not the situation.
Hmm. See, I live in industrial area of
Just
Chhattisgarh.
just one
Okay.
minute, one minute.
Yes, yes.
If you see recently, I think the government had declared this
Hmm.
post 2014.
Hmm.
25 crore people have been moved upward
Hmm.
from the poverty line.
Hmm.
They move from poverty, below poverty line to above poverty line.
Hmm.
So that's the way things are happening. Yeah, you were saying something.
I live in a industrial area in Bhilai, Chhattisgarh. Okay. Here, there were somewhere around 600 to 700 units. Those who are into SME and those who are into steel manufacturing, providing equipment and tools to BSP and railway, all those areas. The thing which I see here in Bhilai is like they have not, most of the plants have not upgraded their technology or whatever you say their manufacturing facilities. So why this all are not happening? This is my question actually.
See, you are talking of private sector or what?
Private sector.
See, private sector, if they don't do, who is responsible for it?
They are only responsible for it.
Then why it is happening? I don't want to spell out since this is the thing. You
Hmm.
should know what Amit Shah recently said about the Chhattisgarh,
Hmm.
what he mentioned about Chhattisgarh.
Hmm.
Now, if people are not interested in their own well-being,
Hmm.
as they say, that
Hmm.
you can take the horse to the pond
Hmm.
where water is,
Hmm.
but you can't make him drink that water.
Hmm. So what needs to be done? Like,
It
there
is,
are,
listen,
yes.
one thing very clear,
Hmm.
when things have to improve, you need good people in the government
Hmm.
who have people's interest at their heart,
Hmm.
who want people to progress, who want people to have good life.
Hmm.
You see all the states where the development has been there. Who
Hmm.
are the people who have been doing it? Who are the people who are in the government who have really helped them to promote all these things?
Hmm.
Now, see, it is a mixed effort.
Hmm.
Government can help you to facilitate.
Hmm.
They will help you to facilitate the growth.
Hmm.
Why Maharashtra and Gujarat are giving so much contribution now? Even UP has started giving. So UP is
Yes.
becoming, I think, almost close to $1 trillion economy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, what is the reason why it's happening now?
Correct.
Today we have to look at this particular part
Hmm.
that it is, see, जो बोलते हैं ना, in हिंदी में वो बोलते हैं ताली दो हाथ से बजता है,
हाँ.
एक हाथ से नहीं बजेगा ताली.
Correct.
तो जो भी बिजनेस करते हैं, नॉट ओनली दैट, आई पर्पसली, दैट इज व्हाई आई गिव यू द हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड.
Hmm.
You may not be aware of those things, how the units, how the businesses were running, small businesses were running in those days.
Hmm. Correct. Correct.
तो ये जो है ना, वो तो इट्स अ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द सोसाइटी which is
Hmm.
taking place. To a
Hmm.
large extent, it has taken place in so many places,
Hmm.
and it will still take further momentum.
Hmm. True. True. So, what role do you think SME and startup will play in helping India achieve its 5 trillion economy?
Yes, in fact, I think last budget or last to last budget,
Hmm.
MSMEs are called the
Hmm.
growth engine of the Indian economy.
Correct.
That's the terminology which has been coined for
Hmm.
the MSMEs and SMEs in particular.
True.
They have a huge role to play
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
they contribute in a big way to GDP and employment generation.
Hmm. Hmm.
They create tremendous export potential.
Hmm.
And based on this,
Hmm.
they are providing a complete momentum
Hmm.
Today, we are having a consistent growth of close to 8% GDP.
Hmm.
There is a huge contribution by the MSME sector.
Hmm.
You see the numbers,
Hmm.
how they have progressed from 2014 to 2024.
Hmm.
And they really will grow further. The
Hmm.
amount of support which the government is giving, particularly in terms of financing,
Hmm.
they are giving a lot of financial schemes.
Hmm.
And as a result, they will be in a position to create. And I'll give you one example.
Correct.
In Baroda, I was
Hmm.
told by somebody,
Hmm.
there was a tea vendor
Okay.
for years.
Hmm.
And सालों से वो he was just selling this 5 रुपया 10 रुपये का चाय बेचता था and
Hmm.
sitting there.
Hmm.
So one day someone like you
Hmm.
went to him
Hmm.
and asked him,
Hmm.
कि भैया तुम्हारा चाय कितना बिकता है?
Hmm.
बोला मेरा चाय हो जाता है रोज का 5-6 हजार का, 7 हजार का भी हो जाता है.
Hmm.
तो बोला आपका तो महीने का 2 लाख का टर्नओवर हो गया.
Hmm.
तो बोला हाँ वो तो होगा होगा, तो उसमें से
Hmm.
खर्चा जाता है सब बाकी का यूज करते हैं. तो बोला
Hmm.
आप बिजनेस क्यों नहीं बढ़ाते, उसमें से आपका यूपीआई पेमेंट कितना होता है?
Hmm.
Nowadays, if you know this UPI payment is there.
Hmm.
बोला आजकल तो अभी 90% हमारा यूपीआई पेमेंट हो गया है, जो आता है वो खटाखट पेमेंट करता रहता है उसमें से.
Hmm.
तो ही सेड ओके.
Hmm.
नाउ look at the way the country has developed.
Hmm.
What he suggested to him,
Hmm.
that you get your UPI payment. Now you have an official payment, official turnover of almost 2 lakhs of rupees per month.
Hmm.
That means 24 lakhs of rupees per annum.
Hmm.
Now, based on this, you can
Hmm.
easily get loan of 5 to 8 lakhs of rupees.
Yes, yes. Very true.
तो बोला ठीक है तो मैं मेरा धंधा एक्सपांड कर दूंगा.
Hmm.
Then what he did was, along with tea, he also started serving snacks and all that along with this.
Hmm.
So his business became 4 times.
Hmm.
Now, ये जो है ना,
Hmm.
this is where people have to work hard.
Hmm.
People have to apply the mind. People have to talk to the people
Hmm.
and basically grow.
Hmm.
I have seen number of people growing with the kind of schemes which are there.
Hmm.
And this digital payment and all that is a boon for the micro segment.
Correct. True. So that's it for today. For staying so
Fair
long,
enough.
uh, I would like to thank all our viewers for staying with us. If you like the episode today, you can comment it, or subscribe it, or share it with the person who may need it. So we will be bringing such episodes for more coming days. So till then, bye bye. Thank you.